Welcome back to Cal Park Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the segment discussing the Uvalde, Texas shooting. In our next segment, we're going to be talking about the name, image, and likeness impact. And as Jason and I have discussed this on previous episodes of Cal Park Bros, N.I.L is where it's at, man. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for individuals at the college level to market themselves. And believe it or not, there's going to be some potential wins for the universities as well for NIL. Now, why are we bringing this up again? Because people are not talking about that at the high school level, Jason.
It makes sense, man. When I was with the NCAA, which I know I like to drop a lot apparently, but when I was there, that's one thing that was always said around. Anything that's going to be allowed for college athletes at some point is also going to be allowed for high school athletes too. Obviously, it's going to be up to each state high school governing body to determine the rules for their state. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, if college kids can do it at the NCAA, high school kids will get to be able to do it too.
Now, what's interesting about this is that, of course, everything's bigger in Texas. So, of course, the first place where this might get some traction, real Friday night light style, would be in the wonderful state of Texas. And Jason, you were sending me a Shadow League article where basically high school athletes in the state of Texas may soon be allowed to capitalize on endorsement deals, and the coaches and officials at Texas High School Coaches Association are preparing for that inevitability. Now, to quote, "We are not promoting name, image, likeness at this point," said the executive director, Joe Martin. "This is not what we want to do, but we want to have as much information as we can to help our coaches. We will follow the legislature in January." Now, of course, that sounds like some boilerplate shit, Jason, but it sounds like they know it's coming and they want to be ready.
Agreed.
I mean, the last thing that you really want is to have some coach or athletic director on the high school level meddling in the affairs of students, trying to infer that somehow they're doing something that's improper. So it's actually a good thing that they read up on this. You know, that I could see potentially someone trying to allege that, oh, this person wasn't eligible for this school because they took some sort of impermissible benefit, which sounds preposterous to me at a high school level. But let's be honest, it also seemed preposterous to me on the college level as well.
I don't know how it can seem preposterous to you on the college level because we know what happens on the college level.
What happens on the college level?
I'm referring to people being accused, at the very least, of taking improper benefits. We just talked about that last week, about the accusation from one actual head coach to that another head coach did that. So it's not the first time it's been accused. We know cases where it's actually been a player and his family have been determined to have been guilty, not in a court of law, but have been guilty of taking those funds or things like that. Reggie Bush, probably most famously of that. But yeah, at the high school level, yeah, doesn't get talked about much, but I might imagine that happens. It's probably a smaller thing, obviously, because what high schools can really afford to start paying guys to come play for them. It happens, I'm sure. It happens, it happens, I'm sure, but it definitely doesn't get talked about as much. Now, yeah, it's definitely something that I agree with you, good that coaches at the high school level are looking into and looking up on, reading up on. But I agree with you, it's something they're not going to be able to avoid. I don't think that's going to go as far as the NCAA, like an NCAA when it comes to the high school, the National High School Federation having to go to court to keep it from happening. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they've seen how it's a waste of time for the NCAA. So if NCAA couldn't fight it, how is our little high school organization going to fight it? So it's going to happen. I think we all know that. And that's fine. That's okay. That is quite okay. I don't, now obviously we don't know how prosperous these high school NIL deals are going to be. For example, 5-star quarterback out of California, Jaden Rashada, back in December, was supposedly the first high school athlete to actually take advantage of it, getting an NIL deal. It was for what with like a high school recruiting agency, and they're only giving them four figures, like probably $5,000, which for a high school kid, that's a lot of money.
Hell, for a grown ass man, that's a lot of money. I'll
Facts.
take 4 grand.
But when you compare that to the amount of money that another high school quarterback in the previous class, actually, yeah, he actually would have been the same class as Jaden Rashada, Quinn Ewers, the kid we talked about before, who skipped the senior season to go play in college, so he can capitalize on the college NIL deals, in which he signed a $1.4 million deal. So yes, I agree with you. $5,000, if it was that much, definitely is a lot of money for a kid, grown man. But compared to 1.4 million, that's where the difference is probably going to be between high school and college. I have to say I can't see high school kids getting paid that $1 million or even half of that while they're still in high school. I say that now, but I think it depends on the individual. If I know you don't want me to bring this up, but I'm just bringing it up as an example. Also, we know Zion Williamson was a huge star in the making when he was in high school, making all those YouTube videos of his dunks and stuff like that. A guy like that might have been able to get like a huge money deal because of obviously he had that star power then that just carried itself on to Duke, and probably would carry itself on to the NBA if he wouldn't constantly getting hurt. So it's probably going to happen at some point. It's going to take the right individual. You know what I mean? But all in all, I think it's a good thing. I can't see it as bad, but like I just said, with the whole Nick Saban, Deion Sanders thing, it's going to happen where somebody's going to get accused of paying somebody to play for a certain school. It's going to happen. Can't avoid it. It might be Texas, and I know we like talking bad about Texas, but like you said earlier, when it comes to high school football, it doesn't get any bigger than Texas. Like you said, they made a movie about Friday Night Lights and a TV show. I didn't see that about Illinois Friday Night Lights. I didn't see that. I didn't see that in Indiana or California. It was Texas. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me. Like you said, though, I'll let you jump in. If those first big money deals didn't happen to happen to kids from Texas, because not only is it a competition to get the best players, if you can legally move around to school to entice them, hey, I got a car dealership here, and the legendary car dealership that pays players to come work for you. But hey, I got a car dealership that's going to pay you this much money to come work for them, and let you use their face in the commercials. They're going to give you this much, and then obviously have the other schools say, well, wait a minute, I got another car dealership in my town. I'll pay you this much. So, now in that scenario, folks, just pointing out the high school isn't paying these players to pay for them. Hashtag not directly, but yeah. So that's where the competition to get players may come into play at college and high school. So
Yeah. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Wise man once said. Yeah, man. I think a complete bidding war for players. Hey, America gets to actually back up how free market we say we are.
yeah, but also conversely, I can see because we've seen it in the college level too. And I'm about to use one of your favorite words when it comes to sports. Well, now people are going to say, well, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that they did this in college. Now they're going to do it in high school. Amateurism is going to be out the door. There will be no such thing as amateurism anymore. Again, Terrence's favorite word, people. He loves amateurism. Which, you know what, hey, I don't think it's the case. Again, fine line. They're not getting paid to play, at least not over the table. So they're still amateurs, folks. They're not getting paid to play, so that still makes them an amateur. So, and also provided they're following their high school and state rules for it, they'll still be amateurs. So,
yeah, they're not getting paid to play. Amateurism on its own isn't really the issue. It's only when the people not doing the labor are trying to say that you can't get paid off of being you. That's the issue.
well, I mean, that was the argument for a long time. Is why people, certain people, fans and otherwise, didn't want, the whole Well, see, back then the argument was they didn't want student athletes to be able to get paid. I don't think it was necessarily
No,
for their name and image
that's
likeness.
absolutely what it was. You're
But I
right.
think a lot of that is people didn't want players to get paid to play. You know, because again, like I mentioned before, I had to correct a lot of people over the phone at the NCAA a lot because they were calling saying, "I cannot believe the NCAA is paying these players. I can't believe these schools are paying the players." And I had to correct them immediately and say, "Hey, nope, that's not what it is, ma'am, sir. No one's paying. No one from the NCAA is paying anybody. The schools aren't paying anybody like they're supposed to be. This is how the kids are making money. Company B, separate from the school and NCAA, wants to pay these guys to do some kind of advertising work for them. Now the players can actually do that and be okay potentially to still keep their eligibility. That's what's happening, folks. I think, and it's funny how when I explain that to people, you see you can hear their mood and change immediately. They're not as angry as I told them about before. Now it's like, oh, then there's that long pause because you can hear their wheels turning. It's like, okay, am I still mad at this now? And inevitably, the answer is no, because it goes back into what you said: free market, getting paid for your not in this case not your labor, but getting paid for you. Now, if people can still get mad at that, then that's probably equivalent to them hating because it ain't them. So, is what it is.
Yeah. Listen, the fight for individualism and amateurism fight as old as time, but if this actually goes off in Texas, guess what? It's gonna happen somewhere else too.
Well, it already is. It's already good to go in California.
So,
and I'm sure they're not the only state. So,
all right. Well, that concludes our name, image, likeness at the high school level discussion. Coming up next, Walmart did it again. Happy Juneteenth, Jason, on Cal Park Bros.